Hi, I'm Claudia Cornett, here at the Beaufort Library with Book Sandwich Den's 2019 Grand Finale speaker, the 8th presenter in our 31st annual Book Talk series sponsored by Friends of the Library. Our speaker is John Worley. He is a native of Florence, South Carolina, and he earned a BA in political science from the Citadel, where he was a classmate of Pat Conroy's. While playing on the baseball team together, they started a lifelong friendship. And after, after college, John went on to the University of Virginia School of Law for a JD degree. John is an award-winning writer, the author of 4 novels, one of which, A Southern Girl, was the first book published by Pat Conroy's Story River Press. John also authored a nonfiction history of the Citadel entitled Stand Forever, Yielding Never. John now lives and writes in both Beaufort and in South Carolina and in Mexico, is that correct? Okay. And the book that he chose for his book talk is his first novel. It's a political thriller / romance that was published in 2010 entitled Bethesda's Child. So my question to you, John, is why did you choose to do your book talk on Bethesda's Child?
First, I would say that any author's first book has a warm place in their heart, and this one has a warm place in mine. But more importantly, I think that the topics that Bethesda's Child addresses are just so timely today. It's been 30 years since I wrote it, as amazing as that is to me. But the topics it deals with are very much with us today.
To get at those topics, first start with telling us the significance of the title.
There is a child who plays a critical role in the story, so that is part of it, but Bethesda is the location for NIH, the National Institutes of Health, and that also plays a role. So it's, I think, a neat combination of topics.
But there's a biblical connection too, Bethesda's Child.
There
Bethesda.
is, in the name Bethesda, yes, there is a biblical orientation from that.
So what would you say the main big ideas are in the book?
Well, the big ideas from the standpoint of the main characters is taking a firm position on something without having experienced the consequences of that position. And in this case, we have a U.S. Senator who is leading a charge against unrestricted genetic engineering, which is was very much a topic in 1990 when I wrote this, and is very much a topic today. A New York Times article this week talked about the ethics of genetically engineering embryos. That's 30 years later, and we still have not resolved this. The book doesn't resolve it, but it certainly brings out some of the dynamics. So you've got a main character who is trying to take a forceful position on something that he hasn't experienced and thought through, and I like the idea of that conflict.
What would you say? A lot of people will say they're adverse to fiction because they want to read nonfiction and get at the truth. What would your response be to that?
My response is that I did quite a bit of research leading up to writing this. So my genetic research was very current at the time. In fact, the story called for some things to happen in the future. So although I was writing it in 1990, I set the book in the year 1999, anticipating some developments in genetics like the Human Genome Project. And as it turned out, I have to say, remarkably accurate in some of the things I forecast.
Do you have a part of the book you would want to read aloud to us to give a sense of the book? Or
I would love to read the opening.
Okay, would you?
So let me...
Just to give us a taste.
Let me begin at the beginning. Yes, this is chapter 1. United States Senator Martin Harmon emerged from the shadow of the Capitol's dome into the sunshine of a bright mid-morning. Below, on the final tier of steps leading to the mall, a bank of microphones stood silhouetted against the white marble, and beyond these milled reporters, camera crews, and tourists eager for a glimpse of open-air democracy. he paused to let his eyes adjust to the light and to take in a view that, more than any other, reminded him why he had come.
Okay. What do you want most for the audience to leave with?
I would like to leave my talk with an update on some of these issues that we're confronting today. I plan to give kind of a survey of where a lot of this genetics stuff stands at the moment, but it will not be an intensely scientific talk. I'm not a scientist. I'm self-educated in this area just because genetics has always fascinated me. And I think it's a fascinating topic. And I think I can present it in a way that people who don't consider themselves scientists will understand and appreciate. And I think they'll also get a sense for the story, which is at heart a love story and a very compelling mystery and a novel also.
John, thank you so much for coming out to just do a preview of what is a much anticipated book talk. And it is the grand finale. And so we're looking forward to a wonderful 45-minute talk. As far as everyone coming out, it will be a 45-minute talk on March the 4th. All book sandwiched in talks begin at noon on Monday, and they take place at USCB's Center for the Arts at 805 Carteret Street. Please plan to join us at 11:30 when the doors open for cookies and coffee and conversation. And if you're interested in the full schedule, you can pick up a rack card at any of the Beaufort Library branches. You can also visit the Friends of the Beaufort Library website, and that is friendsofthebeaufortlibrary.com, or email the friends at friendsbeaufort@gmail.com. Hope to see all of you for our grand finale on March the 4th at the Center for the Arts.
Since this is our last interview, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of our speakers for all of the events that we had this year. It's been a wonderful year. Everybody's done a good job. We've had great attendance, and we've eaten a lot of cookies, and we sold a lot of raffle tickets, and I think everybody's had a really good time. I would like to thank our co-chair, Gene Regala, for all the work that he did for the emceeing and being there for every one of our events. And also like to thank the library for all the resources they provided, and the Friends of the Beaufort Library for all the help they've given us in putting on these fine events this year. And lastly, again, I'd like to thank Claudia Cornett for handling all these interviews and getting everybody together so that we would have a good story to tell before we did all of our programs. Claudia, thank you very much.
Thank you for being co-chair and doing more than anybody could ever imagine to make this all happen this year. And I also want to thank the County Channel for taking on the project of the interviews, and Scott Grooms in particular liked the concept and facilitated it happening. And behind the camera, Carlo Peruzza, who was a wonderful collaborator, director, and editor. We had a great time, and he created some great products that we really appreciate. And so with that, we end our 2019 Book Sandwiched In Book Talk series, but we'll look forward to seeing you next year.